It's Dr. Karen, and I think we're live, so I'm going to get going. So, today I wanted to share three things that I am doing with my immediate family. So, myself, with my husband and my stepdaughter, to cut back on screen time and also improve attention span. So I will start off by saying that I'm sure that you don't really want another video telling you how bad it is to be looking at a screen all day, playing on your phone all the time, and letting your kids do that as well. I know that there's a lot of, first of all, I'll say we know that that's not good. We know that looking at a device too much can do a lot of things neurologically that actually make it harder to pay attention because you need to, for a lot of different tasks that we have to do in school, things like that, you do need to focus on one thing. And looking at a screen, because there's so much stimulation going on, it actually trains your brain to need that heightened level of stimulation, which makes it harder to pay attention to other things. And there's a lot of distraction, which, like I said, you probably have already heard that. So I'm not going to go too far into that. But obviously, we know that in order to improve attention span, one of the things that you can do is cutting back on screen time. The challenge is that it's not that easy. It's gotten so ingrained in our lives. And so it can be really hard to figure out, all right, how do I actually do this? And what tends to happen is that we feel kind of naked when we don't have our phone with us. I remember I was kind of late to the iPhone party. I had one of those basic phones that you could just call people and text people on. And I was just thinking the other day that I kind of missed that when I wouldn't just always be wanting to check my email on my phone. I mean, we know that those things, those apps are purposely engineered to be addictive, just like junk food. So it's kind of like junk food for our brains. And I was just thinking about that, how it's like I used to be fine without that. So we know that we can train ourselves to go back to that. It just takes the time to set those boundaries. And obviously, today, if you have a child who maybe you're working on attention span, it can be hard to completely take that away because socially, that's just what kids are doing these days, especially now as I'm recording this video. It's January 2021. A lot of schools are still doing a lot of remote learning and kids aren't getting to socialize. So I'm definitely not saying that we need to throw our devices away. It's just how the world works now. It's how people connect. So obviously, while we want to have a set time period for using devices and be monitoring that and not just be multitasking and have it around when you're supposed to be doing something else, obviously we want to have a diet for that or clear boundaries. But the question becomes, all right, we've gotten these habits of being on our phones all night, watching TV, doing, whatever it is that usually involves an electronic device. How do we fill that void? And so I'm just going to share three things that I did not think I would like, that I never used to like when I was younger, and that we have actually found to be quite enjoyable with our family and also have been helpful in building some other skills that with my in my particular family, with my stepdaughter, she's in sixth grade, some things that we are also working on with her as well. So, if you've listened to any of my other content, that I do talk a lot about executive functioning skills. So these are the skills that help us to engage in strategic planning and stay organized and be independent, which is super important if you have a child who has a hard time paying attention and keeping things together, gets easily distracted. All of those things. A lot of times there are executive functioning issues, which can make it really hard to function in school. And then also can make it hard, if you don't improve those skills when you're a child, can make it hard to be a functioning adult and just be organized and, get everything together. So it's super important to be building those skills now. So we are doing a couple things as a family to help improve those skills. Just some simple things that you can probably do with things that you have around the house or with minimal, getting minimal materials that can actually improve things like attention and focus and executive functioning skills. So, number one is that we play cards. I know that's, it's pretty basic. You probably have a deck of cards laying around. The game that is our go-to game is Gin Rummy. And so we started with that because we started playing a couple years ago with my stepdaughter. She was able to understand the rules, and now she often is beating me and my husband too sometimes, which is a little annoying, but mostly I'm proud that she's able to do that. So the reason that it's been so good is because we were with her. There are a lot of times when she would plan things, like she'd be cleaning something, and the way that she would sequence her activities, you could tell that she wasn't really thinking about it beforehand. So it's kind of like, you know how you're picking up your stuff and putting it away in your room, and she would take one thing at a time instead of surveying the whole room and being like, okay, I'm gonna survey the whole situation and create a plan so that I don't have to go up and down stairs a million times and get distracted and take a half an hour to do something that could take 2 minutes. So we were wanting to work on that strategy. And so when you play Gin Rummy, you do have to pay attention to incoming information. So pay attention to who's played all the other cards, who's picked up what. You have to pay attention to what you have and think ahead. So there's an element of strategy there. And then the other thing that we are working on with her is math facts and counting. There were a lot of times where she needed to just know and have that number sense really quickly to be able to do things quickly without sitting there and counting on her fingers and things like that. Not that that isn't a strategy that you can use when you're first starting, but you've got to be able to eventually think in your head when you're having that number sense. So afterwards, when we're calculating our score, she has to calculate her score as well. So there is an element of strategy there. So this has been something that has been really helpful. And the greatest thing is that as she's gotten better at it, and now that she knows that she can beat us some of the time, especially me, my husband's a little bit harder to beat, she actually wants to do it. And so this is something that a lot of times we crave familiarity. So if you sit down and watch TV every night, that is part of your routine. It's something that's familiar. Well, if now that we've developed this into our routine, this is something that she asks for now. So it just took that time to do it. The other thing that we're doing is another board game, Scrabble. We actually got this for Christmas. And the reason is because another thing that we're working on with her is spelling. And I do have some activities that I have her do on a daily basis that are kind of extra little activities that I do just because my background is in language and literacy. But on some days, I just say, all right, I'm not going to give you a word study assignment. We're just going to play Scrabble. And so we do that as a family. And again, that gets her thinking about strategy. You've got to, again, survey the board, look at a whole bunch of incoming information, which is an executive functioning skill, and then create a plan and make a decision, and then also work on spelling as well. And then there is also some element of calculation because you've got to calculate the score when you spell the words. So that's another thing. And honestly, I don't think I'd ever played Scrabble before. Maybe I did a long time ago when I was really young, but it's something that I never played either. And it's really fun, and it takes up, if you can keep a game going, you play a couple times, that's like an entire movie. That's a couple shows that you could be sitting and watching. And it's not like I think you should never watch TV either, but it is something that is an alternative task that doesn't involve looking at a screen and requires you to actually engage with each other. And honestly, it's fun. I think sometimes we forget that these old school games are fun when we have to almost acquire a taste for them again. So that's number 2. So Gin Rummy, Scrabble, those things they're really good for attention, focus, executive functioning skills, social interaction. And then again, just getting off of a screen and doing something else does help with attention because you're not overstimulated looking at that device. And then the other thing, like I said, it's January. I live in Illinois. Something else that we like to do a lot is just get outside. And I still do get outside in January. Not everybody likes to do that if they live in a place that's cold. But something else that we've been getting into recently are crafts and those adult coloring books. I have always been kind of a math analytical person, and I value those things, but I always really liked art class. And my mom has been sending things to my stepdaughter because she knows, we're quarantined, we're not able to get out as much. So she keeps sending her these little craft activities that she gets off of Pinterest. And she sent me one of those adult coloring books. So those are, when we think of coloring books, we think, oh, those are for little kids. But actually, the coloring book, you really do, a lot of these designs are really intricate. So if you have a child who maybe is, thinks that the little kid coloring books are kind of, they're kind of childish. And, if you have a child that likes those regular coloring books, that's great too. But the adult coloring books, because the designs are more intricate, again, it does require a lot more paying attention to visual patterns and strategy when you're figuring out what pattern you're going to do. Yes, you could just be really fluid with it and color it however you want, but it does require you to think and focus. And again, it's something that is not on a screen, so you're looking at a piece of paper. It's using a different part of your brain, and it's giving you a replacement activity for a lot of the things that we've gotten in the habit of doing, which is, watching TV, social media, all other kinds of things. And again, like I said, with those things, what we've done is just that we're monitoring screen time. You can monitor your screen time on your phone, and we're designated specific times where you can do whatever you want during this time, play on your phone, watch TV, whatever. But we're also going to have this other dedicated time where we're doing some other things, and we're a little more mindful. So that's one way that's working for us. So like I said, Gin Rummy or other card games, if you like something else, Scrabble, or again, other board games, if you like other games, and adult coloring books, especially if you've got someone who is probably too old for the standard coloring books and want something that's a little bit more challenging. Like if you've got a middle school child or a teenager that really doesn't, want the, like a little kid coloring book, and they want something else. And it's also great for you as well as the parent. So I'm really enjoying those things. So these are some things that we're doing to boost our attention span by focusing on some other things that require some strategy and focus and get us unplugged. So hope you found this helpful. Something else that I wanted to mention, I did mention executive functioning skills and attention span in this video. So I'm actually working on a program for parents to help them to build their children's executive functioning skills so that they can help their children become more attentive, more focused, more self-sufficient and organized and successful in school, so that they can set them up for success in school, so that they know that they're building the skills now that they need in order to be successful adults. So if you found this video helpful, I've actually got a free guide that will help to outline executive functioning and what it is and why it's so important in helping your child become independent. And also, when you sign up for that guide, you'll get on my mailing list, and you'll be the first to know when I open my program for parents, where we're going to be diving into executive functioning skills even further. So to sign up for that guide and get on the mailing list, I will put a link in the description of this video so you can check out that guide. Thanks so much, and have a great day.